Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to look into how can we create indicator filters around a MACD. Um, so again, in this video tutorial, we're gonna spend some time at the very beginning to review of the MACD indicator, just in case some of you guys have don't know what is the MACD. Um, we also will take you through the filter creation. So by using the MACD, and then we will go through all the functions supported by MACD indicators. And we're going to create market scan based on the those functions, and I'll show you guys what these functions can bring you some useful information of the underlying security. Um, so also, I think in the previous video tutorial we forgot to show you guys the stochastic oscillator, the duration over the duration over both functions, and we will quickly show you guys some of the examples right here in this tutorial. Sorry about that. Um, okay, so let's go into our application. And the first part, let's just say, so in the previous video tutorial, we created um, the duration over board and the duration over sold functions. As you can see, we're trying to look into the full stochastic oscillator stays in overboard for 10 weeks, and we also create another one by using the full stochastic oscillator and duration over sold for 10 weeks. So let's do two market scan here, and I'll just quickly show you guys before we move into the MACD. Okay, so we already created two market scan. Let's go into the market scan control panel. So the first one is the overboard 10 weeks, which means give me all the security and stocks that the FSO indicator stays in overboard for 10 weeks. Okay, let's kick off that one. And the second one, and kick off the second one, which is give me all the stocks in the market and which the FSO stochastic oscillator value stays in oversold for the past 10 weeks. Okay, so both of them return some values. Let's going back to our market scan. First of all, let's take a look the overbought one. Double click on the result history, refresh it, and then let's just take a look the first one. So here you go. Let's open the FSO stochastic oscillator. Okay, as you can see, for the past 10 weeks, the stochastic oscillator stays above 70, right, for 10 weeks. So that's the correct results. Let's take a look at the other one, CPU, computer share. Also, let's open this full stochastic oscillator. As you can see, the this stock also with its stochastic oscillator value stays above 70 for over 10 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's more than 10 weeks actually. So that's the result. Okay, let's take a look at the other one. Let's take a look the over its duration oversold, right, for 10 weeks. So we already finished the scan. We only need to refresh it and open the results. So as you can see, they'll pretty much will point down, right? So that's expected because they're staying oversold for quite some time. So share price is moving lower. That's unexpected. If we open the stochastic oscillator, as you can see, this one, the stochastic oscillator value stays below the red line, which is the oversold 20, and for past 10 weeks, actually for past more than 10 weeks. So that's correct. Let's take a look at the other one. This one looks like the point up, but somehow it is in our market scan results. Let's take a look what the indicator looks like. So this one looks like it's different because, right, this is 30. Sorry, I should change it to 70 because we're using the 70. So yes, if you change to 70, because our market scan is using 30 as the oversold, so we have to change it back to 30. So as you can see, if I change it to 30, that green line for the oscillator value, it stays below that 30 for 10 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right here, so still oversold. Actually, it's more than 10 weeks. Of course, it's match the condition. Okay, so looks like this condition is very useful when you the duration oversold, and can just give you all these shares. As you can see from that chart preview, is quite bearish, and most of them are point down. Share price is moving lower. Take a look this ANN. Okay, again we need to change it to 30, and overboard is 70. So in that case, absolutely. So this one, it stays oversold for more than 10 weeks. Okay, so that's two functions we haven't showed you guys in the previous video tutorial, and let's clean up everything and move into our contents of this video tutorial, which is our MACD. Okay, let's delete the market scan. I need to delete this too. FSO related indicator, so we'll leave that one there. Okay, now let's going back to our indicator filter function page. Let's see what functions available for the MACD. Right here. Alright, let's just keep this page open. Let me explain a little bit more for the MACD indicator before we move into those contents. Once again, let's open up this Afterpay touch chart. Okay, so if you want to open MACD, you pointed out that indicators drop down list and you select that MACD. So that's the MACD indicator. Okay, and for better explain, I usually just give it 12. So give it the same color. So I have opened up our moving average for this chart. First of all, I give it, because it's slower, it is a faster EMA, so give it the same color. Okay, so that should be oh, sorry, there you go. Okay, and now also I open another EMA, which is 26, our slower moving average, and the color is pink. Okay, so MACD indicator actually is calculated by a dual EMA system. So basically it's used, as you can see, if I open the MACD configurations, the fast moving average units number is 12, so that's why I open a 12 units of EMA. So actually it is using the EMA for the calculation, and also another slower one is using 26 units, because we are opening a weekly chart, so that's 26 weeks EMA as the slow moving average. So it's using the fast EMA value, okay, subtract the slower EMA value, and then you get a value. So that value is our MACD value. And again, if you take this MACD value and you apply a 9 units of moving average on top of this MACD value, and then you come up with this signal line. And also the difference between the MACD line and the signal line forms our histogram value. So the histogram value is calculated by the MACD line subtract the signal line. So it's that simple, right? Yes, we do have a very detailed video tutorial dedicated for a MACD indicator, and that video is in our indicator playlist. So if you want to dig into more about this indicator before you go through the next our next contents, you can go back to that video and have a look at that tutorial, and then you come back here, and I think you will be more confident, because we're not gonna go dig too much about this indicator itself, so we'll focus on the market scan in this video tutorial. So I'm assuming everybody here, when you're watching this video, you're already familiar with what is the MACD indicator is. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to the functions. See what we can use for the functions related with MACD. I don't think you have these two functions available for the MACD, but let's just take a look the others. So first of all is MACD cross above signal. So this function should check if the current MACD value is above the signal line, okay? But the previous MACD value is equals or below the previous signal line. So this function actually returns a turning point. The turning point of the MACD line is crossed above the signal line. Okay, so in the chart, so as you can see, here is a example here. So as you can see here, the MACD line in here, there is a crossover above the signal line. So that function will tells you this type of turning point. So what's the significance of this turning of this crossover? Is basically if you want to have a rising MACD and also rising price, usually the MACD line has to above the signal line, and it's moving up. So and the price usually will moving up. Okay, so that's the first function. The MACD line, the signal line crossover. Okay, so another one is the opposite scenario. It says it's a MACD is crossed below the signal line, and that means it will give you some turning point like here. For example, previous week the MACD line stays above the signal line, but this week it's crossover and now moving below the signal line, right? So and that function will give this, we're picking up all the stocks with their MACD line has this type of crossover. Okay. Another function is a MACD cross above zero line, and this function is to check if previous MACD value is below or equals to 0, but the current unit MACD value is above zero line. Okay, let's change another one. I don't like this chart because the MACD not that obvious. Not sure this one. Okay, so this function is returns MACD cross above zero line. So the function will tell you like here, as you can see that light blue MACD line is crossed above the 0 because the center line is 0 for the MACD indicator. So it will tells you when any shares with the MACD value is having this kind of situation, it will returns true. I will find out for you. Well, what is that significant of this crossover? If you familiar with the MACD indicator, it's basically says the faster moving average line, it starts to move above the slower moving average line as a dual moving average line system. So as you can see here, so when MACD line moves above the 0 line, it is the same moment of this slower move, fast moving average line moves above the slower moving average line. If you don't believe, if you give this here, okay, so as you can see here is the exact same time when the faster moving average EMA moves above the slower moving average EMA. Okay, so because we are using some of the is exactly the same when you're using the dual moving average system to generate a buy signal. So here you go. Usually some people might just take a buy action right here. So that function gives you exactly the same you know time or the moment when this happens. Okay, right, another one is the MACD cross below zero line in the contrary situation. So that means here, as you can see, the right here, so the MACD line is moving from above the zero to the below zero, and that is exactly the same moment when the faster EMA moves below the slow EMA. So that function will tells you and when this is happening. Okay, so the market scan should pick those stocks out for you. So this one is usually when the traders want to use this as the sell signal when the faster moving average line moves below the slower moving average line, so that means generates a sell signal for some people. Also, you can use this MACD related function to get the same time of that moment. Okay, now let's move into next one. The next one function supported by the MACD is this MACD above zero line. So this function is actually answer the question. So it will gives you all the MACD, all the stocks with their MACD indicator. So the MACD value is above zero. Okay, that function actually tells you as long as this MACD line above zero, it will return true. So usually when the share is moving up, the MACD line should stays above zero, right? Usually, so when it comes below the zeros, I mean, the price should be falling down. But as long as the MACD line stays above zero, sometimes people using this condition, whereas the when the MACD touches the zero line and it tells you maybe this underlying trend still uptrend. Sometimes it's gonna be briefly breaks down the zero and then quickly climb back like here. So it really depends on the situation. You can get all the result sets from the market scan, and you have to review it by yourself to identify is that a good point for the entry for the long or not. So, but this one, however, the function, it will tell you exactly what shares with their MACD lines above the zero line. So again, in the contrary, so another function is this MACD line below zero line. So it's totally opposite situation, and this function will tells you all the gives you all the stocks with their MACD line is below zero. Okay, so usually when the share is in the downtrend, MACD line it stays below the zero for quite some time, as you can see from here. Once it's crossed below the zero, it never comes back. So during this period of time, the shares keep moving lower. Okay, so that is this function return for you. The second one is this MACD above signal, and also another one is the MACD below signals. So in these two functions, let me just close that one. Now these two functions just tells you some information about if currently is the MACD line, the light blue one, is above the pink one, or at the moment if it's the MACD line is below the pink one. So, and not necessarily, these two functions gonna tell you direction about this share price, because even though it is above zero, the MACD line could also below the signal, like here. So you see all the MACD line and the signal line is above 0, but at this point in time the MACD line is below the signal line, right? Again, in here, even though they're all below the zero line, MACD line is signal lines, but at the moment the MACD line is above the signal line. Okay, so it's not necessarily a direction related functions, but it just tells you at the moment the MACD line is above or below the signal. So you have to combine this function with other functions to, if you want to get exactly the direction related information. So you need to combine with other functions. Okay, so I think that's pretty much every function supported by the MACD at the moment. Okay, let's close that chart and then going back to our our indicator filter. Now we're going to create some of the indicator filters and do some market scan based on those functions we just explained here. So again, if you still have the questions about all these MACD related functions, I'm not sure what they're doing, so you can always come back to our main page and browse to this indicator filter function documentation. It is under the technical analysis 2 documentation here. You come back to this page looking for the section MACD related functions and have a read those description. Just review your memory if you forget what that function doing. Okay, let's go into our indicator filter management. So first of all, if you want to create some of the if you want to create indicator filters around a MACD, or around any indicators, you need to go into analysis manual group, pick up the first one, which is our indicator filter management. You click on that, so you right click on any node in the indicator filter management, and you pick up add filter. So once you click on add filter, we have a indicator filter management page open for you with a default name. Okay, so of course you need to select the MACD and make sure there is a green tick in front of this indicator, which means you already included in this indicator filter management domain. So, and then you add a condition button here. You click add condition. So you start to add the first condition. Let's select the MACD. So once you select the MACD, so here all these configuration items are exactly the same with the when you open the MACD indicator from the chart. So that's the same content here. So first of all, you need to specify what this condition is gonna scan on top of what is the chart type of this you're going to scan. So if you want to scan the weekly data, so you choose week. If you want to scan the daily chart, so you choose day. Same with month and year. So this time let's pick up the week because we're going to scan weekly chart. Calculation base, usually you pick up the closing price. So that means that just tells you which price you want to calculate it based on, to form your MACD. Default is you're always using the closing price. But yeah, nothing stop you to using others, but it's just up to you. So default is closing price, okay? And here's the three numbers here. The first one is the fast average units. That is reflects to this faster EMA. How many units you want to use to calculate the fast average? So default is 12. Slow moving average unit number. How many units you want to use to calculate slow move EMA when you calculate the MACD? So default is 26. Sometimes people like to using the 10 weeks and compare the slow one, which you can make it at 30 weeks because 30 weeks EMA is quite simple movage, or sorry, the EMA is quite significant. But in this demo, we're still using 26 and 12. The signal line, how many units of you're going to calculate the signal line. So you want to smooth out that MACD by using 9 units or any other number. but default is 9. Alright, finally there is functions available here. As you can see, we don't have the value and the previous value for the MACD because we don't think it's very useful for the MACD. In terms of MACD indicator, we focus on this couple of functions right here. So first one is the MACD above zero line. So as you can see, all the functions right here are start from the is. That means they're going to use the is true or is false operators, right? So make sure you picking up is true or is false. Let's say is true. Usually we're using is true. So it's MACD above zero line. And actually we already created one here. Let's use the second one is MACD below zero line. So let's save that condition. So once you save the condition, and you can create a market scan based on that filters we just created. All right, let's run these two functions for now. First of all, let's go into our market scan, and we are going to do the first scan by using the data. We always select the data here. So the condition we're using now is saying MACD above zero line is true. So let's do the market scan for that one. Okay. Actually, this one has two functions. Okay. Okay, let's take a look here. The first market scan we're going to do is the first condition is saying the MACD above zero line is true. So it used this function, the first one, and make sure the MACD value is above zero line. And also it has a second condition. So we can have as many as conditions you want. So for the send indicator filter. So in this group, actually we have another conditions here. Let's take a look how this condition is doing. So actually this condition is saying the MACD is above signal line is true. Okay, so it requires the MACD line is above zero, and meanwhile it requires the MACD also above the signal line. Okay, so if you do this one and click OK, as you can see we have 47 results. Let's take a look at that. So those stocks are fulfill these two conditions. The first of all, the MACD line is above zero. Let's bring up here. Okay. Okay, so the MACD line, the light blue one, is above zero. That means the fast moving average is at the moment is above the slower moving average. So that usually happens when the price is going up. And also the MACD line is above the signal line. So the light blue one is above, slightly above the pink signal line. So it's in a pink color. Okay, so that's the good result. And let's take a look another one from the results. The second one is ALU. This one is more obvious. This one is more obvious from the MACD chart. As you can see, MACD line, the light blue one, is above zero, and also it's above the signal line. Right, so that's the correct result. So let's take a look at the last one, ARX. Okay, so this one maybe not that obvious than the previous one, but again the light blue and signal line is above the zero, and the light blue one, the MACD line, is above the pink one. Yep, okay, so I think I'm gonna stop showing more because they're just pretty much the same. Let's start to create another market scan by using the another conditions we just created, which is the MACD below zero line is true. Okay, going to our market scan. Okay, we have to select which market we're gonna scan, which is ASX 200. double click that one and make sure it stays in the right hand side tree, and then we select another functions here. The MACD line is below 0 line, right? So nothing much special, but it just demonstrate how this function is working. So that's pretty much the second one. Okay, so the 76 results in this market scan. So all of their, let's just bring up anything in the below here. All of them with their MACD line below the 0 line. So as you can see, the MACD line is below 0. Usually that's not good sign. Either, you know, so it's keep going down, or it's consolidate in a very bearish way. All right, let's take a look at this result. Yet again, MACD line stays below 0, and also the MACD line, the light blue line is below the pink line, so the signal line. That's another good, it's another result from that market scan. Okay, maybe I don't think you guys think this is a little bit boring, but you know, this is all the fundamentals and building blocks for each single functions may be very straightforward and easy, simple, but they are basic building blocks when you create more advanced or comprehensive market scans. So the focus of this tutorial is just to make sure you understand each functions, how to use it, how to configure it, and also. But in our in the future, so we're gonna, you know, maybe create another playlist to come up with more comprehensive type of market scan and how you create those market scan. But here today, let's focus on the basics. All right, let's create another condition. Sorry. And select MACD using weekly chart, closing price. Okay, so we already showed you above 0 line and below 0 line. Let's say use this one. Is the MACD cross above 0 line? So cross above 0 line requires this stock previous MACD stays equals or below the 0 line, but this week is jump above the 0 line. So that is a bullish sign. Let's see if we can find any shares like that. Okay, create that one. I know going to the market scan, add a new market scan by use this function. It's cross above 0 line. Let's pick up the filter. Cross above 0 line. So that's what we are looking for. Going back to the market scan control panel and run the first one. Okay, review the condition. Market scan. Sorry, so it's MACD cross above 0 line is true. Yes. We start the market scan, and you can see very quickly we find this type of shares, and refresh the result tree. Let's have a look at the results. Okay, the first one is ELD. The chart from the preview looks pretty good, isn't it? Okay, and then okay, so now let's open the MACD indicator. So very interesting, as you can see here, MACD previous week is below or equals to 0, but this week is ticking above 0. So not that obvious, but it is above that 0 line. So that's the good result from the market scan. Okay, let's take a look at another one. MRN is a miner company for Australia, so it's quite bullish chart from the previous week, have a big jump. As you can see here, the light blue line is crossed above, slightly above the 0, and the previous week it stays below 0. So this is another correct result. Need to find this one. Hopefully it's give us more obvious Yeah, this one is very obvious now. So as you can see, this week the light blue one is ticking above the zero line, right? This inside part here, but previous one is equals to below the zero line. So this one is finding this functions is exactly gives us, it's looking for all those turning point for this type of shares, you know. So um, when you want to generate the buying signals by using these functions, I mean, that could be the one, because it's, you know, crossover above the zero. Okay, so that's the function that we are using. Let's add another one, another condition using MACD, weekly chart and closing price. So the previous one we're using MACD cross above zero line, and this time we're using MACD cross below the zero line. Okay, see what we can get from here. And again, we have to choose is true or is false, because those functions name is starts from is. So ask question, right? So you have to use an is true or is false operator. Now we have added this function, added this condition. It's saying it's cross below zero line is true. How about we add another one? We added one more extra condition, and this time we requires the MACD line also below the signal, right? So this week is moving cross below the zero line, but also the MACD line has to below the signal, which is add one more layer of bearish, you know, phenomenon in this type of scan. So let's see what we can get from the market scan. Okay, for the convenience, we just copy the first condition's name here, make it easy. Okay, so let's create one more market scan here by using this newly created name. Select market we're going to scan, and we pick up the condition. So we're looking for MACD cross below zero. MACD cross below zero. Okay. Inside here, we have another MACD below signal line. So don't forget that. You can see from here, if you run the second one, as you can see, MACD cross below zero line is true. And meanwhile, we ask, is the MACD below signal also is true? So let's see if we can find some. We got two results here. Interesting. Not many results. So as we expected, because this is this combination of conditions shows some sort of the bearish sentiment. So let's take a look at the first one, the Domino Pizza Enterprises, and we have opened the MACD. Okay, so this one's not that obvious, because from the line chart here, it's just slightly we're touching the zero, but actually I think it's slightly below that zero. Also, the MACD line is below the signal line, as we expected here. This share is actually moving lower. For the previous weeks, not. It's kind of a bearish sentiment for this market scan. So we do find a bearish, you know, sort of bearish stocks from the market. Okay, let's just quickly go through a second one. Then MMS. Okay, let's open the MACD indicator and have a look here. Okay, interesting. This one is this more obvious, right? So you guys can see from here, the current week, the MACD line dips below the zero line, and also the light blue MACD line stays below the signal line. With these two combination, we found a stock like this. It's going down, and this breaks below the zero. So that's the good, correct result found it by the market scan. Okay. So this time we have used these two functions. Now, let's create another one to explore the rest two functions we haven't showed you guys. No, we should pick up the MACD and weekly chart, closing price. These two functions we haven't showed you any market scan so far, so let's take a look at this one. So it's MACD cross above signal line. Okay, so this one is very so this function returns a very special moment when the MACD line is start to cross above the signal line. Let's add this one. We might not find any because this is very lower probability if you just find for this kind of scenarios the MACD line cross over above the signal line, but the last week stays below the signal line. Let's see if we find out anything like that. Usually you can combine another condition. If this happens below the zero line, you can take a look at this share. From what I mean is we add one more condition here. Not only this cross above the signal line, I want this crossover above the signal line happens below the zero. So it's actually below zero line. We add this one. It's true. Okay, so that crossover happens below zero. Let's use the function name, sorry, the condition name, just to save some time for typing. From typing, MACD cross line is true. Let's just get a hashtag here, just make it more obvious. Now let's create a market scan. Okay, we save that name here. So we're using the MACD line cross. Okay, the MACD cross above signal. We add that one in. Okay, we pick up this one. Okay. Now we are ready to do the market scan. Let's go back to our market scan control panel and let's run third one. I'm not sure we can get some from the entire market. Are we lucky again? So we got 3 candidates here. If you refresh the result tree, let's take a look at the results. Double click on that results. All right, we got 3 stocks. They're crossover. MACD line cross above the signal line beneath the zero. That might be the. Let's take a look at the first one. Open the MACD. Okay, right. As you can see here, the MACD line is and the signal line, both of them are below the zero. That fulfills our first condition. Another one is the MACD line is cross above the signal line this week. All right, you can't see very clearly from the chart, but it's almost touch with each other. That's the stock I want to find out, and the market scan, picked up the correct one for me. I have to think about what we do about this share. For example, in the real time, after this market scan, you need to do it combined with other type of analysis, technical analysis, and also fundamental, etc. So you can decide do you want to, getting on board this one. Do you want to entry a buy in the very next day or not? All right. Area C, that fulfills the condition. Let's take a look at another one. NCM, Newcrest Mining. This is a big mining company. Let's take a look. It's MACD indicator. There you go. So another one. MACD line, signal line below the zero, but MACD line starts to cross above the zero line. Sorry, the MACD line starts to cross above the signal line. So that's what we are looking for, right? So that's the correct result. The final one is the NWH. Right, so they're sharing the same characteristic because this has happened. So MACD line and signal line is below zero. MACD line touching across above the signal, okay, from the current week. All of them share the same characteristic. What I mean is they're all in a major support area, so it's just up to you. Other type of analysis, because if you buy long here, it's very close to the support. You consider stop loss as support. Meanwhile, you can check is that stocks start to outperform the market or not. For example, if you do the relative strength, so obviously still this one is still underperform the market. You need to think about it. Okay, so that's the example of this scam, and also we introduce a tiny little bit more other technical analysis here. So anyway, so this result returns the correct candidates for us. Okay, so finally there is another so finally is the MACD cross below signal. That's the opposite situation than the first one. We can do it quickly. Just for the demonstration purpose, we quickly create a condition closing by using this one. It's a MACD cross below the signal, right? So the last one is true. So that's the opposite situation. For example, I want to add another condition. Is the MACD line is above zero line, but the MACD start cross below the signal. So that's a totally different scenario than the previous scan. So this is happening when the market is going too hot and starts to, shows the weakness of the uptrend. So I mean, the share price might turn over, might turn around. I mean, a trend. So let's just see what we can get from the final pair of conditions here. The MACD has to cross below the signal, and the MACD has to above the zero line. Okay, let's give it a last example. Let's create a market scan and also name it as last example. We select the market we're going to scan, and then of course we have to include the indicator filters we just created, in which there are two conditions as the combination. Now let's go into the market scan control panel and run the last one. Hopefully we have some results here. That's good. We have 3 candidates as well. Okay, let's see what we got here. AST. Let's take a look at that. So it's jump up. We open the MACD. As you can see, the MACD and the signal, both of them above the zero line, which is fulfill the first condition, right? And the second one, we have to say the MACD is cross below the signal. So as you can see, this week is below the signal, but previous week is equals or above the signal. So that's exactly what we are looking for. And somehow it's just gone. Okay. Yeah. So that's the correct result. Let's take a look at the other one, the ORI. Let's open the MACD as well. Okay. So this one is more obvious than the previous one. As you can see, the MACD line is crossed below the signal, right? What do we mean cross below the signal is we need to compare with the previous one. The previous week, the MACD is equals to the signal line. I mean, they're touching, but this week the MACD line starts to moving below the signal line. And meanwhile, another condition is the both signal and the MACD line has to stay above zero. That's another one. Okay, let's take a look at the last result sets gathered from the market scan. Okay, so here you go. So another one is MACD line cross below the signal, right, above the zero line. See? So that's the correct result. Okay. Okay, up to here, I have showed you guys every single functions in the market scan in action, what we can get from the market scan. So if you guys still have the questions, always go back to documentation to check those descriptions here. I think I have to remove this too because the value and the previous value is not supported in MACD. I might need to remove this too from the documentation page. And okay, so I think that's pretty much all for this video tutorial. So I think all the functions, even though they are quite simple and straightforward, but they are building blocks for more complicated, comprehensive market scan. You can combine the MACD related conditions with other type of filters, even with other type of trend filters. We are talking about those in our later video tutorials, but for this one, I think that's pretty much all for today's video tutorial. Hopefully you guys think all the content is helpful, and we do hope every one of our video tutorials is helpful and can give you some ideas for how you use our application to find the desired stocks or candidates for your daily work. Okay, thanks for your watching. Thanks for your time. I see you guys in next video tutorial. Bye for now.